We are live. Hopefully, this is coming through loud and clear. How's it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, August the 23rd. Now, I am out of my home element, as you can probably tell by the background. I'm actually in Port Rexton right now, getting ready to do a Gran Fondo bicycle ride tomorrow. And I'm going to be doing this live Q&A anyway, and I'm hoping that the internet connection is strong enough to support a live stream video. So if it is a bit choppy, I do apologize in advance, but the Wi-Fi connection that I'm using right now, I don't think is the strongest. But we're going to make it work nonetheless, if it'll come through. Seems to be coming through fine on my end, but is it coming through loud and clear on your end? Let me know. If you're tuning into this now, if you're popping onto the live stream, let me know, please, in the comments section there, whether you're watching through YouTube, whether you're watching through Facebook, wherever you happen to be watching from. Let me know if this is coming through loud and clear on your end. Again, fingers crossed that it is, but I can just tell by the Wi-Fi connection, it's not a strong signal here. It's certainly not as strong as the internet connection that I have back at my home where I normally do these live Q&As. So, all right, Robert's joined in saying it's loud and clear. Okay, hopefully it stays that way. We're keeping our fingers crossed. But yeah, so first off, again, welcome to the video chat. The way this works is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to health and fitness, nutrition, any specific challenges that you may have with regards to your workouts, with your nutrition plan, with regards to building muscle, losing fat, anything along those lines. Feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window or down in the comment section, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. All right, so we got Brian joining in, saying it is coming through loud and clear, buddy. Appreciate it. And again, fingers crossed that it stays that way. It seems to be working fine on my end, but again, I can tell just by the bars on the Wi-Fi there that it ain't a strong signal. So as long as the live stream can come through, that's the main thing. Robert saying, where are you at? I am in Port Rexton, Newfoundland. So that is the Bonavista Peninsula in Newfoundland. And we're going to be doing the whole Bonavista Peninsula as a bike ride tomorrow. So it's 160 kilometers, 100 miles around the peninsula. And this is something I've done now for several years in a row, done this ride. It's a structured group ride through Bicycle Newfoundland, and probably going to be in the range of 50 or so riders doing this ride tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully the weather cooperates. Just after I got checked into my efficiency unit that I'm at right now, the rain opened up. So it's supposed to rain overnight, but the forecast is calling for dry most of the day tomorrow. So fingers crossed on that as well, that the rain holds off. Or if it does rain, that it's only a mild shower and not a downpour. I don't mind getting a sprinkle of showers on a bike ride, but I don't like riding when it's just torrential downpour. That ain't fun. But that's where I'm to now, and getting ready for that. So again, we'll be keeping the video chat to about an hour tonight, because I want to get this get a few things organized, and of course get to bed early, because I have early rides tomorrow. I want to get a good night's sleep for that ride. All right, let's see what questions are coming up here. Brian's got one here. He says, I was just convinced to do grounding with a mat. Have you heard of it or know if grounding works? Yeah, this is something that I've done a bit of research, and I have a grounding mat and different grounding tools, if you will. Like there's different straps and stuff that you can get. Honestly, I can't say I've noticed a massive difference. Like you read the claims for grounding, and they really hype it up, and when I actually tried it myself, I can't say that I noticed massive benefits from it. Now, the idea of grounding, for those of you who don't know what it is, I mean, you can go Google search it or whatever. It's been around for a while, this whole theory. It's just being connected to the earth. Like, so if you go out walking through the grass in your bare feet, or you go walk barefoot along a sandy beach and go swimming in the ocean or in a pond or something like that, you are grounded, you're connected, you're getting, like, you're discharging all that negative energy from yourself and just being connected to the earth. Grounding is a way of kind of bringing that into the house, so you can plug it in, like with the outlets, your electrical outlets. There's a grounding outlet, right, to discharge that excess energy. You can connect your grounding mat to the outlet and have this basically mat on the floor where, let's say I'm sitting down and I have a grounding mat on the floor here. I could be barefoot and have my feet on that, and it's supposedly going to be simulating the same as if I had my bare feet out on the natural ground. It's supposed to, again, improve energy and all that kind of stuff, right? Again, I Google search it if you want the full details. I'm giving you a very short layman's version of what grounding is here, right? I'm not the expert on it, but I've tried it, and I when I did it, of course I bought my grounding mat and all my little grounding things. Like, you can get a wrist grounder thing, stuff that attaches to your wrist and stuff. So if you don't have access to the mat, so like you can also have a grounding bed sheet. And I had that as well, and I stuck with it for about 6 months or so, and I don't know. Like, I don't know if it really made a massive difference. It wasn't dramatically noticeable. I mean, there's probably the placebo effect of it, but you know, I think if people are outside in nature a good bit of the time anyway, like I try to get outside, and doing a lot of exercise outside and things like that. I don't know if you're going to get massive benefits from it. Now, for people who are city dwellers and you're inside a lot of the time and you're not getting out, then maybe you're going to get more benefit from grounding than someone who is outside a good chunk of the day. But I'm just sharing my personal opinions. I know if you go, like anything, you'll hear some people say, "Oh, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I started grounding, and my life changed for the better." Yada yada yada. And if it has, kudos, amazing. I'm just saying, I never noticed any life-changing benefits from it. And quite honestly, my grounding mat is now probably stashed in the basement somewhere, somewhere in obscurity. So just sharing my feedback about it. But hey, obviously, I'm sure if you've been convinced to do it, you must have a grounding mat and stuff. Hey, I'd love to hear your feedback. Try it, and just see if it works. See if you notice any benefit from it. I'm just curious, has anybody else on our video chat tried grounding before? And if you have you noticed any benefit from it? Personally, I think the best form of grounding is to just literally get outside, especially if you can get outside and like walk barefoot, like whether it's out in your backyard in the grass, or if go swimming at a pond or a lake or the ocean, get outside like that. That's the best form of grounding that there is, to really submerge yourself, like even swimming, especially because you're getting all that immersion to nature, if you will. But as far as the mats and the tools and stuff to try and do it indoors, it's hit or miss. Hit or miss for me anyway. Let's see what else we there. John saying, glad you're back. Are there any home good glute exercises for a bigger butt? I'm gonna share my opinions on this, because back in the day, we never really had glute exercises. There was leg day. So like if anybody was dividing up their body parts, okay, you had like your chest and your back and your arms and your shoulders and your legs. But there was never a dedicated glute day. Now this is a big trend where people I literally go to the gym and people say, "Oh, it's glute day. I'm training glutes today." Whereas that was kind of just like, that got trained as a side effect of training your legs. You never necessarily had to do glute day or glute exercises. So if you want to build a bigger butt, just build bigger legs in general, like your squats and your deadlifts and your leg presses and your lunges and all those exercises that you do for your legs. Indirectly, they're also going to hit the glutes as well. Now, if you want to really focus on isolating the glutes, then there are machines and exercises for that. I know you're asking for home variations, but I know at the gym, like hip thrusters is a popular one, like barbell hip thrusters. And if you have a barbell and a bench at home, then hey, you could do that at home as well. A lot of gyms now have machines to kind of simulate that and make it more practical and comfortable to do it. Because the barbell hip thruster, and if you're not familiar with that, just Google search it. I can't really demonstrate it here, but That's a common exercise that a lot of people do now, the barbell hip thruster. It's uncomfortable. Like, you have to have some padding on the bar and stuff like that to make it comfortable. A lot of gyms these days have different machine variations to simulate that movement pattern and make it a lot more comfortable and a lot more convenient to get into position with it. So that's a good one. Other ones that you can do, step ups, lunges. I mentioned that. Like, that's stuff that you can do at home. You don't need any fancy equipment for that. Like lunges, you can literally, hey, just lunge anywhere. Like, whether you're doing them with body weight, with dumbbells, or with a weighted vest or anything like that, you can do lunges. But that's one of the best exercises. And of course, really try and go deep if you really want to target the glutes. Another one that you can do as well is just hip thrusts on the floor, and there's different variations of that, right? Like, um, one that I call it, I heard it called frog pumps. A friend of mine down in when I was a couple years back, when I was training down at the Critical Bench compound in Clearwater, Florida, the guys showed me this exercise that they had part of the workout of the day that they were doing. It was frog pumps or frog humps. I'm not sure what the name they used, but it's basically like, you're lying back on the floor. You put your heels right up next to your butt, and it's almost like a hip thruster, but you're doing it with your feet open, almost like your legs are spread in a frog position. I'm just going to see if I can find it. I made it into a video sharing that exercise. Frog pumps, probably is what they called it. Exercise. Yeah, okay. It's actually there, and you can use a resistance band if you want. So I'm just going to share my screen and show you this one. This is a really good exercise, and don't need any special equipment. I mean, you can do it anywhere. Right here, frog pumps. So hopefully you can see it. Is that coming through? I'm going to make my screen a wee bit bigger if I can. There we go. But that one's a good one. This is basically a hip thruster, but you're doing it with your feet turned out and your legs opened, right? And that really hits the gluteus, right? Hits the outer glute muscles. And you do high reps with this one. So if you have a band, like is in that picture that's shown there, you can put that around your knees. But even if you don't have a band, you can just do it with body weight, no band exercises at all. But this one, high reps, like pump out 25 to 50 reps sets and just really go for the burn, the time under tension. That will really pre-exhaust your glutes. And then if you get into doing squats and lunges and things like that and step ups, you'll really get a good pump in the butt, if you will, help to stimulate the glutes. All right, let's see what else we got there. Neil's joining in. Welcome, Neil. Says, is it normal to have a full body workout with 8 exercises, 2 sets near failure each, resting 2 minutes? Took me almost 2 hours. I feel great, but is this too long? That depends. All right. I mean, 2-hour workouts, obviously that is a longer workout for some people. You know, it all depends on your fitness level, your work capacity, what it is you're training for, etc. But you know, a lot of people try and have like the hour is the magic workout time for a lot of people, just from a schedule and convenience point of view. So if you want to, you know, shorten that up, you have a couple options. One, obviously, you do less rest between sets. That would speed up the workout. Or you can scale back the number of exercises, or both. What I would probably do, if you want to get that time down, I would probably scale it back maybe 90 seconds, 60 to 90 seconds rest between sets. And if you want, probably do 6 exercises instead of 8. You know, that would get the time down. But with that being said, if you have the time to do a 2-hour workout, you enjoy it and it's working for you, there's nothing wrong with doing a 2-hour workout, right? Like, I want to dispel the myth of people thinking that there's a magic time, or, you know, if you go beyond a certain time, then the workout is not productive anymore. Like back in the old days, like multi-hour workouts were a common thing, and guys got results from it. Like, you hear old stories of Arnold talking, hey, we train 4 or 5 hours a day, right? Lifted thousands of pounds, yada, yada, yada. It worked. I mean, look at the physiques the guys had, right? I mean, you can't argue that it didn't work, because it obviously did. Now, I know most people don't have 4 or 5 hours a day to go train, but it worked. So it's not like, a lot of people have this negative connotation towards long workouts and think, oh, you're wasting your time or whatever. I mean, if you're enjoying it, you're getting results, and it fits with what it is, your training objectives and goals, there's nothing wrong with doing a longer workout. Personally, my weight training workouts tend to be an hour and a half. That's kind of like the sweet spot. Sometimes they go a bit longer, right? If I'm doing more exercises or I'm training more for conditioning and doing higher volume. But generally speaking, an average gym workout for me is that hour and a half range. That's where I feel I can get a good solid workout in, get all the exercises that I wanted done and not feel like I'm rushing the process, right? Because having adequate rest between sets allows you get more muscle fatigue and not cardiovascular fatigue, because that's a problem when you do shorter rest periods. Yeah, you speed up the workout, but now you're changing the energy systems. You're getting more into the lactic acid and more of the cardiovascular systems versus just the pure muscular system. So if you rush your workout, you're not going to be able to lift as heavy, and that may have an impact on your strength. But it's also beneficial from a strength or from a muscular endurance and a conditioning point of view. So, it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. What is it you're trying to prioritize, right? If you're trying to prioritize conditioning and stamina and muscular endurance, then hey, shorter rest periods can work for you. If you're trying to burn more calories, shorter rest periods can work for you. If you're trying to maximize muscle stimulation and maximize strength and power, then that's where longer rest periods can work for you. So it's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just what works for you at this stage of the game based on what it is that you're training for. Right? So, it's you said you feel great afterwards, but is it too long? Again, that's up to you to decide. All right, that depends on you and your schedule. All right, what else we got? We got John joining in. Welcome, John. Glad to have you tuning in. Let's see. We have Petros saying, "Good morning, Lee." We got several good mornings here. So you guys must be over in Australia or thereabouts, that corner of the globe, right? The opposite corner. I know, because I have several coaching students of mine that I worked with over the years from like Australia, New Zealand, and places like that. And how we would arrange our coaching calls when we were working together is it was like the clock was reversed. So 7 a.m. for them would be 7 p.m. for me, or vice versa. We'd always literally the complete opposites of the clock. So for all of you morning people there, you must be in Australia, New Zealand, somewhere around that part of the world, I would assume. But anyway, question: is it possible for someone who experiences acid reflux and takes medication for it to build good abs? I avoid crunches as I'm afraid they will make it worse. I don't think that that's going to have any impact on your muscle development. Now, it may have an impact in terms of, uh, if you have acid reflux when you're training, but how I would avoid that, if I was suffering from it, I would try to do fasted workouts where you don't have any food in your system that's taken away and being digested while you're training, right? So if you can do a fasted workout, or at least have several hours after a meal before you work out, that should minimize it. And of course, be very selective of your pre-workout meal. Make sure that you're not eating anything that's going to be heavy and sitting on your stomach, or something that causes acid reflux. Like if there's any particular foods that really aggravate it and cause you to get the reflux afterwards, you want to avoid that as your pre-workout meal for sure. But I don't think that that's going to have any impact on actually building the muscles themselves. And saying that you avoid crunches, why? Like it shouldn't matter. I mean, again, unless there's food in your belly, and then you find that when you're actually training, that it's causing that food to kind of like go up into your system and get the acid reflux. Again, I'm not a doctor here, so I can't give everybody, I can't give an exact scenario, and I don't know your specific situation, but I don't think that would have an impact. I think you could still build good abs, because ultimately what determines if you have abs is, one, building the abdominal muscles themselves through exercises like crunches and leg raises and all kinds of abdominal exercises. But the number one thing that's ultimately even more important than the exercises is losing the body fat that's covering the abs. If you can get lean enough, you're going to be able to see visible abdominals. Even if you don't do any direct ab exercises, if you're lean enough, you'll still see visible abdominal definition, because abs are basically just a sign of being lean. But you could have incredibly well developed abs, but if they're covered with a layer of body fat, you're never going to see them. And a prime example of this, you look at a lot of like powerlifters and strongman competitors and people who are immensely strong and very well developed. But if they've got a layer of body fat covering them, you're not going to see the muscle definition and you're not going to see the abs. It doesn't mean that the abs are not there. Like, yeah, they're there. And they probably have better developed abs than most fitness models and people who are known for having abs, but it's just they're covered with a layer of fat. So the key to getting good abs is simply getting lean through diet and through cardiovascular exercise. That's the kicker right there. I mean, the weight training is kind of like the icing on the cake to maximize the development of the abs so that they really pop when they're lean enough. But again, I don't think the fact that you have acid reflux and are taking medication for it shouldn't have an impact on that. Right? But try fasted workouts and see if that makes a difference. It should. What else we got there? John saying thank you. You're welcome, John. We have Robert saying Steve Reeves' full body workout was 2 hours. Apparently. I mean, I've never met Steve Reeves. I've never talked to Steve Reeves. So we're just going by literature that was published, but I'm sure it was 2 hours. Like, it was a kind of a common thing back in the day to do longer training sessions. But one thing I just want to address here, based on what this comment alone, when you read the so-called workouts of different people, like, oh, this is such and such a celebrity's workout. Like, sometimes you'll see a magazine article, like Men's Health will publish, hey, oh, this is The Rock's workout, or this is John Cena's workout, or this is such and such, this is Chris Helmsworth's workout, or it might be their workout at that time, that stage of the game, or whatever. People change their workout routines. Like, it's not like people do the exact same workout set for set, exercise for exercise, and they do that for years on end, as if this is my workout and I'm not allowed to change it. People change their workouts depending on the different situations they're in, depending on their goals that they're training for, etc. Like, for me, for example, like, I kind of have a general guideline. Like, I generally, at this stage of the game, do total body workouts 3 days a week. That's generally when a lot more cycling. My gym works a week, depending on how many hours I'm on the bike. And my focus is, instead of trying to build muscle while during that phase, I'm basically trying to maintain and to work on in hypertrophy. Then later in the year, like after the summer, for example, when we move into the fall and winter, when I'm not doing as much cycling, I usually spend more time in the gym. And that's when I really prioritize the weight training and training more for strength and hypertrophy all the time. That's what I'm getting at. And when you see like different people say that, hey, this is such and such a workout, that's what was published in the article or in the book or in the whatever. It's, take it all with a grain of salt. That's what I'm getting at. Like, don't take it all as gospel and think, oh, because they're a celebrity that they must follow this exact workout as it was written out in that article or in that book or in that whatever. And no, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. It was what they did at the time, or a summary of somebody's summary of what they did. Right? It's open to change for sure. We got another question here from XM. Does push-ups and pull-ups target all three heads of the shoulders? Indirectly. They're not direct shoulder isolation exercises, but when you're doing push-ups, you're going to really hit the front head of the deltoid. That's going to be coming in as a secondary and supporting muscle for the just generally chest, shoulders, triceps when you press. And then when you pull, you're going to hit some of the rear delts, as long as with the lats and the upper back and the rhomboids and all that when you're doing pulls. So indirectly, you are going to hit the shoulders, but I wouldn't classify it as a shoulder workout, if you will. Right? Like, it's certainly going to help, but if you really want to develop the shoulders to the max, you need to do some isolation work. You need to do some isolation work, especially for the rear head of the deltoid as well as the side head of the deltoid. Those are the two key ones. The front delts, I mean, you can still do some isolation work, but it's easier to develop the front delts for most people because they're getting hit as a side effect of doing your pressing moves, doing your pushing moves, like doing like a lot of arm work, especially if you're doing tricep work, your front delts are coming into play as secondary and supporting muscles. Anytime you do any chest work, your front delts are coming into play as secondary supporting muscles. Anytime you do overhead presses, shoulder presses, the primary mover is the front delts. So they get put into play a lot. It's the rear delts that are neglected, and the side delts to a degree as well. So if you really want to build bolder shoulders, prioritize the rear delts, and that will really take your shoulders to another level. And another thing is it's going to help to prevent injury, because with shoulders, very often that's a common area to get injured. And the root cause of most shoulder injuries for most people is an imbalance. The front delts get overdeveloped in comparison to the rear delts, and then there's an imbalance in the shoulder joint itself. So you want to create balance by working opposing movement patterns and having balance and support in all those areas. And this is a key thing that you can take into a lot of your workouts. Like when I'm designing workout programs for people, I generally focus on agonist and antagonist, opposing movement patterns. So we'll do like a horizontal press and a horizontal pull, overhead press, overhead pull, bicep curl, tricep extension, leg curl, leg extension, abdominal crunch, back extension, or some sort of hip hinge. Like always thinking of working each side of the body in balance and proportion. And that's a good guideline to focus on. Now, if you do have imbalances because you probably trained for years in an imbalanced way, like let's say you're the typical chest and biceps guy, chest, biceps, and abs, you just want to work the beach body muscles, the show-off muscles. You may have developed imbalances if you've done that for a prolonged period of time. So maybe now you need to increase the volume for those neglected muscles, and you may actually want to have an off-skewed proportion. Maybe like do 60% volume, like more. I'm throwing off my numbers here, but more volume for your weaker side. So maybe like instead of having 50-50, you maybe want like 60-40, right, for the weaker area, to give it a little bit more emphasis, or maybe even 70-30 or something like that if it's a big imbalance, right, to help balance it out. But once you do have what you consider good balance and proportion, then continue to train it by making sure that you're working agonist and antagonist movements for all the different major muscles. And that's a tip that you can take into all your workout programs, and it's a good guideline that will serve you to help prevent injuries and just ensure you have a well-balanced physique. Jeffrey Samatero. Lee, when's Jeff going to get the cover of Men's Fitness magazine? When's he going to get it? When he's a world famous drummer with shredded six-pack abs and jacked biceps and boulder shoulders, and that's when he's going to get it. I don't know. For those of you who didn't catch it, you should check out our most recent podcast. Myself and Jeff, we did a podcast episode and talked about his new life adventure, how he's literally reinventing himself now and taking on a new adventure. So I'm not going to spoil it, but you can check it out. It's most recent episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. It's online now. You can check it out on YouTube, as well as the different major podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and a bunch of others. But yeah, it'd be worthwhile to check it out if you haven't already done so. We've got Lee joining in. Lee's a regular to our video chats. He says, can you recommend any foods that reduce inflammation? As I'm getting older, I'm focusing more on what's going on in the inside of my body, like cholesterol, healthy organs. Love your Arnie impression. Well, if Arnold was here, he would tell you the best foods to reduce inflammation. He said you want to eat a big steak and 12 eggs. I don't know. He probably wouldn't say that now, but that was his bodybuilding cutting diet. Big steak and eggs. What you want to do to reduce inflammation? I'm a big advocate of this. Like I'm focusing now with my training is more towards health and wellness than just bodybuilding or sport specific or whatever. Like I would much rather get a little less in terms of the strength and hypertrophy and more in the health and wellness side of things, because I'm, as you get older, your priorities change. You realize that you're not invincible. You realize that you need to look after your health. And especially if you've had friends and family members, especially you see people around your same age who are now suffering health issues because they've ignored their health and fitness. And that's scary. Like, I'm not going to mention any names, but I know several people in their 40s, the same age as me, people who like I went to high school with and people I knew through the years and stuff, who heart attacks, cancer, you know, diabetes, just a lot of health issues because they've neglected their health and fitness over the years, and then now it's catching up with them. Right, you can get away with it when you're in your 20s and 30s, like, oh, okay, I can get away with eating like a pig and drinking and ignoring my health and fitness, but those poor decisions catch up with you. So the older you get, the more you realize, I need to prioritize health and wellness if I want to live a long, healthy life. Not only to maximize life for me, but to be around for my kids, future grandkids, to set a positive example for them as well, and to be around to watch them grow up and be an active participant in their lives. You need to take care of your health and fitness, right? And your health and wellness, I should say. So some big foods, first off, is not so much what you need to eat to reduce inflammation, but what you shouldn't be eating, like the processed foods. Like, I'm going to just throw it out there now, like, just pull off the gloves and throw it. Cut out alcohol consumption. Like, this is such a gray or such a tiptoey area for a lot of people. Like, when I'm listening to fitness gurus and experts and stuff, oh, don't drink too much alcohol. Like, if you're serious about your health and fitness, you should not drink any alcohol. Like, what good has ever come about from drinking alcohol? Like, if you were to take out a sheet of paper and write, draw a line down the middle and say, okay, pros and cons, write down all the pros that you get from drinking alcohol. Like, what are all the health benefits that you've gotten from drinking booze? Write it down. And then write down like all the negatives that come about from drinking booze. Like, how many people do you know whose lives are enhanced because they drink? And then how many people do you know whose lives have been destroyed because they drink? Like, it's kind of like a no-brainer, right? Like, there's really no good that comes about from alcohol. And we can also insert recreational drugs, smoking, yada, yada, yada. Like, those are the big ones, right? If you're serious about your health and fitness and you want to reduce inflammation and optimize your health for longevity, like, cut that shit out. Like, I do not drink. My top coaching students who really are taking this serious and making the best progress, they finally come to the realization, you know what? Alcohol is not serving me. I'm going to cut that out. And it's amazing. Once people get that out of their system, the progress they make just goes up exponentially. Like, they get leaner, they make better gains in the gym, their sleep quality improves, just their overall health and wellness, and all the markers, like your health markers, blood pressure and cholesterol, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, stuff improves dramatically when you get the crap out of your system. So alcohol, big one. Smoking, big one. If any recreational drugs, big one. Like, the obvious ones. Now, when we're getting into food, processed foods, like especially the ultra processed foods, like, get that out of your diet, or a bare minimum. Like, I know it's sometimes a bit tricky with that, with foods, but keep it to a bare minimum, or at least eliminate it. Um, and then when you're getting into what you should be focusing on, the big ones, I mean, lean protein, vegetables, natural unprocessed foods, foods that are single ingredient foods. So foods that don't need a nutrition label. Like, if I go to the produce section and I pick up a bunch of bananas, like, it doesn't need a nutritional label because it's one ingredient. It's bananas or apples or oranges or lettuce or avocados or celery, or you get my point. Single ingredient foods. Like, make up a lot of your eating with single ingredient foods. Same when it comes to protein. Chicken, beef, fish, eggs, like real food, single ingredient foods. Like, protein and veggies, that's kind of like your Batman and your Robin, like your dynamic duo. If you base your meals around that, that's going to go a long way to improving health, reducing inflammation, and just providing you with the raw nutrients and materials that you need for muscle growth and just health and wellness in general. What else? If you're getting into supplementation, omega-3s, omega-3 fatty acids. Most people are not getting enough omega-3s in their diet. I won't say it's impossible, but it's freaking hard to get enough omega-3s in your diet without supplementation. I personally supplement with high potency fish oil supplements to make sure that I'm getting enough omega-3s. That's a big one. Collagen supplements. It's not directly for inflammation per se, but it's really good. I mean, there's a lot of health benefits from collagen, but building up joint and connective tissue and cartilage, I find that when I'm supplementing with collagen on a regular basis, I get less joint pain. So that's my ultimate joint supplement of choice, if you will, is collagen. So that's something I take on a regular basis. What else is there? Um, Another one that I've been utilizing recently as well, and I find it's good. Niacin. Niacin is vitamin B3, but take it in a concentrated form. Now, take it in small amounts first, because when you take niacin, you get the niacin flush. But that flush from niacin actually, I think, is very therapeutic and beneficial. So that's something that I've been doing as well recently. Has gotten into taking niacin. Now, I'm very sensitive to it. I really get the niacin flush when I take it. If you've ever taken it, you know what I'm talking about. I usually take half a tablet because the ones that I have are 500 milligrams. That's too strong. I'll literally get a pill splitter and I split it in half, and I'll take 250, and that's my threshold. Like I'll take that, and then like within 5 minutes, I'm like I can feel the blood flow and the circulation and that niacin flush. I mean, back in the day, a lot of bodybuilders used to take niacin as like a before contests to help increase blood flow and help get them a pump. I mean, it can do that, but the problem is it also flushes your face as well. So I mean, you'll have a red face. So a lot of people sometimes find that they get more of a pump in their face than they do in their muscles. So I'm not a big advocate of using it as like a pre-workout or a pump agent, if you will. But just for the overall health benefits, it's really good. I mean, that can help to lower cholesterol, lower inflammation, and stuff. So it's a lot of health benefits to niacin as well. That's another one that I like to use. And again, you mentioned you want to improve your cholesterol. That's is a good one for sure. But the big one is just really living a healthy lifestyle in general. Like it's pretty obvious. Like we know the things that we should be doing. We know the things that we shouldn't be doing. Being consistent, like good enough and good enough consistently with those basics can go a long way. Because like some people they have that all or nothing mentality. It's like, oh, if I can't be perfect, if I can't have the perfect diet, if I can't have the perfect workout, the perfect this and that and the other thing, then screw it. I'm not going to do anything at all. Like focus on what you can do, right? Like you can cut back or eliminate alcohol consumption, right? You can start focusing on making better food choices. Like you can add an extra serving of vegetables. You know, some people say, well, I don't like eating vegetables. Well, just start by adding an extra serving, even if you got to force it down, like like parents trying to force their kids to eat vegetables. If you got to like force it down somehow, all right, figure out a way to get some veggies in you. Little things like that are going to go a long way, and then you can gradually start making it better as you go. But don't try to go from zero to hero from day one. Just focus on being better than you are right now, and look for what's the low hanging fruit. Like look at your overall diet and lifestyle and everything else, and say like, what can I focus on improving? Another one I never even mentioned: sleep. Like if you're not getting a good solid 8 hours of sleep each night, focus on improving the quality of your sleep. Right, trying to get to bed earlier. Like, don't sleep in later. Get to bed earlier. That's the key to improving your sleep. And then focus on like sleep hygiene. Right? I mean, I'm not going to go into that because that could be a whole podcast or talk in itself. But that's another thing that's going to help to improve your health and wellness, reduce inflammation. I mean, if you can get a good quality night's sleep, that will go a long way. Anyway, this is something like we could go into more detail. Who knows? This could be a future podcast where we really do like a deep dive into it. But hopefully, you got some benefit from what I just shared there. Who else we got there? We have just a second now. I'm trying to open up my comments here. TS, join in. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much. It says 28-week streak. Still doing Doug Hepburn approach, 8 sets of 2, adding 1 rep each workout till you hit 8 sets of 3 on main lifts. Cool. I mean, congrats to you. 28 weeks in a row. Like that's respectable. Like you've passed the 6-month mark, and that's the key. You know, I keep saying it over and over again, but it's good enough and good enough consistently. And the consistency is the number one thing. Like, and that should come as a relief. Like fitness, nutrition, living a healthy lifestyle, it doesn't have to be hard. Like, it's actually a lot easier than many people think. Like, a lot of people think, oh, working out is going to be so grueling, so torturous. Like, eating a healthy diet, oh, bleh, that's going to be disgusting. I can't do that. Once you start doing it, you're like, it's not that bad. It really isn't. Like, going to the gym and exercising, or even starting off smaller than that, like getting outside and going for a walk, or doing some simple exercises at home if you got to kind of like baby step your way into it, and then eventually going to the gym. It's not that hard. It really isn't. Eating and making better food choices, it's really not that hard. And that should come as a relief, because the fact that it's not that hard makes it easier to do. Once it's just kind of the mental block is the hardest thing, like overcoming that initial mental hurdle of, oh, I'm going to go to the gym, it's this outside my comfort zone, this is or I'm going to make better food choices. Well, I'm not used to eating better food choices, I'm just used to eating whatever fast food drive through, whatever the wife makes, what, mindlessly eating whatever's put in front of me. I don't really care, as long as I'm not hungry, I'm eating good. like and now putting some conscious effort and mindfulness into your eating and your food choices. But once you get over that initial hump, you're like, okay, this ain't that bad. It's pretty, protein and veggies. Okay, I can do that. It's actually pretty good. You know, getting some daily exercise. Hey, that's not that bad. I actually enjoy it. I look forward to it. It's pretty good. Once you get over that initial hump and you start doing it, you realize it's not that hard. And then the key that's going to make or break it is just the consistency. Like many people, they overestimate how hard getting in shape is going to be, but they underestimate how long it's going to take. Right? Like nobody gets in shape quick, right? Despite all the crap and the hype you see on social media and supplement ads and then the fitness marketplace and whatever. Progress is slow progress, right? Like if anybody that you look to and admire in terms of health and fitness, they didn't get in shape in 30 days or 12 weeks or whatever. They've been doing it for years. Like it's been a journey of multiple years. And that applies with anything. Like you look at a great musician. They didn't just pick up their instrument 6 months ago. If they're an amazing musician, they probably picked it up years ago or decades ago in some cases. Same thing, you look at a great athlete. Like they just didn't start playing their sport, 3 months ago or whatever. They've been playing it for years to get to that level. Same applies with fitness. If you look at someone who's in really good shape, someone that you admire, chances are they've been doing it for years. So you have to take that same approach, right? You got to be willing to put in the time. And the thing is once you put it in, you get the results. And it's not as hard as people think, but it's going to take longer than you expect. Right? Be willing to put in the time, but then it's going to pay off years down the road. And think bigger than like the 30-day shred or the 12-week transformation or whatever. And think like, where are you going to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? Like think bigger. And if you can focus like, hey, I'm doing this so that I'm going to be a better version of me a decade from now. And I'm going to reap the results of living a longer, healthier life a decade from now. It makes it a lot easier to settle into this as a lifestyle and not just looking for the quick fix solution, right? Because ultimately, your diet and exercise program, if you don't enjoy it and you can't sustain it, the results are only temporary. Like if your fitness program has a start and an end date, the results are only temporary. So for TS, I mean, he's 28 weeks in. Kudos to you, but I want to see this like 28 months. I want to see this like turning into a long-term, like decade-long journey where it becomes, this is just, there is no finish line. It's just part of who you are, right? It's like part of your daily routine, like getting a shower and brushing your teeth. It's just who you are, is what you do. Like, nobody's going to say, I stopped showering, right? Because, I was too busy. Or I stopped brushing my teeth because, I'm just too busy. No, I mean, you do that stuff because it's who you are, is what you do. You just do it, right? It's just part of your routine. Fitness has to be part of your routine like that as well. But again, kudos to you, my friend. Thanks for sharing and inspiring. All right. What else we got there? Another question from JE. How many leg exercises do you do on a full body workout? Is it okay to do barbell squats on one day and Romanian deadlifts the next? Yeah, I generally, again, it depends on what you want to focus on. Like if legs are a stubborn area and you want to prioritize them, you can do more. But generally speaking, like when I'm working with coaching students, we'll probably do one main leg exercise. Like I actually was this morning, I coached one of my in-person students at the gym today, and we did a total body workout. And our main leg exercise was the leg press. So we did that today. The last workout, we did squats. I think the workout before that, we did a combination of leg extensions and leg curls. So, like, you can change up the exercises. Like with total body workouts, you don't have to do the same workout every single time. Like, you can change or cycle through the exercises, but I generally only choose one major exercise per movement pattern or per muscle group, I should say. So like we'll have one main chest exercise, one main back exercise, one main leg exercise, and kind of go through that type of pattern. And then we'll change it up. So the next time we'll probably do another leg variation or another chest variation or back variation, yada, yada, yada. All right. So you can change up the variations, but in order to keep the workout doable, you kind of have to limit the number of exercises because you can't go in there and do like, oh, I'm going to do 5 exercises for each muscle group in a total body workout. Like you'd be in the gym all day, right? You can't, right? You can't have like, oh, I got 50 exercises I got to knock off in this workout to make sure that I'm hitting or whatever. Like, no, I usually limit it to probably about 6 to 8 exercises max, per workout. And then you can cycle through those exercises. We have Dave joining in. Welcome, Dave. David, I should say. David's got a question. Says, I have a question. What exercises can you recommend for my mom? She's severe osteoarthritis and severe bad knees. The best thing that I can suggest there is going to a gym and working with a fitness coach who can work with her directly and see what she can and cannot do. What's her mobility? Because severe arthritis, I mean, I don't know how severe or what she can and can't do, but the nice thing about going to a gym and then working with an experienced trainer who's familiar with working with people who have injury or mobility issues is you can do different exercises and different movement patterns, and you can experiment to see what causes the least amount of pain, the least amount of discomfort, and of course, you can adjust the weight accordingly. Like you could do leg extensions with, you know, 10 pounds on the weight stack or less. Like you can even just do it without just the way that the machine handle itself, right? You can go very light with machine exercises. Whereas if you're at home, you kind of like you got to lift your body weight. Okay, if you don't have any exercise equipment at all, like you're kind of limited to body weight. And for someone who's just starting out or someone who has severe joint pain or arthritis, their body weight may be too much. Like if I'm asking your mom, hey, let's start repping out body weight squats, maybe body weight squats are too much at this stage of the game. Or so she'd be better off at the gym where she could probably do like leg extensions or leg presses or leg curls or different exercises like that to work with very light weights and lift within her means and build up, gradually and progressively over time. Right. Like that's one of the advantages of going to the gym. I know a lot of people are scared and intimidated by the gym, especially if they're out of shape and they've never trained in God knows how long. But like you got to get that mental block out of your thinking, because most people at the gym are just average people. Like they're not world class athletes. They're not like watching YouTube fitness videos. Like a lot of people think, oh my God, if I go to the gym, they're all going to be like these huge jack guys I see on YouTube, right? Everyone's going to be deadlifting 500 pounds and 400-pound bench presses and right, yelling and screaming. And no, most gyms are not like that. Most gyms you go in there, they're just average people. And quite honestly, if you didn't see them at the gym, you would never tell by looking at their physiques that they went to the gym. And I'm not saying that as a discredit. I'm just saying like most people at the gym are just normal folks. So it's not as intimidating as a lot of people think. And I've had this myself because like I'm a personal trainer at the gym that I go to. And a lot of people, like they've had that mental block where like, I'm scared to go to the gym. And then finally, when they bite the bullet, right, they take the leap of faith and they get there and they're like, whoa, this wasn't nearly as bad as I thought. right? And they do some exercises, and we can try different machines and different movements and different positions and say, okay, like what works for you working around your injuries? Because especially if you're working with older people, chances are they got some injuries or mobility issues that need to be worked around. But the best way to get around it is actually going to the gym and working with an experienced trainer who can work with you specifically, work with your specific situation. And that's what I'd recommend, right? I mean, it's trying to sit at home and figure it out on your own with no equipment. Like, yeah, that's a losing battle. I mean, I just say go to the gym and get the help you need. Right? Like if you want help, you got to go out and seek it. Right? Trying to figure it out on your own and do so with no equipment is the slow, painful way of trying to make this work. And quite honestly, you probably won't make it work. What else we got there? Brian's joining in. He says, going back to niacin, he said, we used to give niacin followed by sauna to flush toxins out of the body for patients. Niacin helps to break up the toxins stored in fatty tissues, and sauna sweats it out. Cool, interesting. And it absolutely does. Like niacin is one of those supplements, like you can feel it working. Like it's not one of those things where, I don't know if it's working or not, hit or miss. Like, no, you take niacin, like, it's working. It's one of those things like, yeah, you can feel it kick in, right? And that's what I actually like about it. Right? It has a noticeable impact for sure, and I feel healthier. When I take that regularly, I find it really does, like say, flush out the gunk, if you will, right? Flushing out the toxins. It's a great detox supplement, right? Which can help with numerous health issues. What else we got? Another thing. Rhymecast. Hello, how are you? Glad to have you joining into our video chats. Louis joining in, or Lewis says, good luck tomorrow on your bike ride. Hopefully you can get a nice ride in friendly weather. Take care. Appreciate it. Much appreciated. We have Jonas joining in. He says, what do you think of throwing in dirty reps at the end of your set? With that, I mean like forced reps in order to get more fatigued. Use with caution. All right. Certain exercises are more favorable for cheat reps. I know you're calling them dirty reps, but it's basically a cheat rep. Like a bicep curl, a row, something along those lines. Maybe even like a tricep push down, maybe side lateral raises, like some isolation exercises and smaller exercises. You can kind of do some cheat reps, but ultimately, like you got to look at the bigger picture. Like, what is it you're trying to achieve? Because if you work the muscle, like let's just say you're doing your exercise, whatever it is, a bicep curl, and you're using strict controlled form and you rep out to momentary muscular failure, like you've stimulated the biceps, like you've trained it to failure. Going beyond failure with cheat reps and forced reps or whatever, it may provide a little extra muscle stimulation, but at the same time, it also increases your risk of injury. So it's like walking the tightrope. Like, yeah, you may get a little more muscle stimulation, and I'm using that like literally, it's a little, but you could also get injured. And if you get injured, that's going to cancel out whatever potential gain you would have gotten from the forced reps or the dirty reps or whatever you want to call them. So I'm not a big fan of it. Like momentary muscular failure, just with good form, end the set, right? And even if you end the set without going to absolute failure, that's not a bad thing either. Like because you can still train in a progressive overload fashion without killing yourself and going to absolute failure. Like let's just say you push it to 90%. You don't go to a full 100% exhaustion. You go 90%. You got a rep in reserve. That's fine because you can still make progress. Like you can still add 5 pounds and try to make some incremental progress by keeping reps in reserve. And it's amazing. Like when you train with a little bit in reserve, like you go through your workout knowing that, I could have did a little more if I had to, but I held back. Like I didn't go, beyond red line. I kept it under red line. I have a little bit in reserve. That makes it a lot easier to be more consistent, and it helps speed up the recovery process because you're not draining the tank dry. You're not killing yourself every workout and overstressing your central nervous system. And another big one that I already mentioned is you're not risking injury. So keeping it below red line, not going to the absolute limit, allows you to be more consistent, and consistency trumps intensity. So I'm not saying that you can never, push yourself, but do so sparingly. It's not a regular part of my routine. Like most of my workouts, I'm, momentary muscular failure with good form, or very often even leaving a rep or two in reserve, and just focusing on the consistency over the intensity. That's what I recommend. But with that being said, like, from time to time, if you're really feeling extra oomph, if you're full of piss and vinegar and you're feeling good, if you want to throw in a few extra reps at the end, like especially with an exercise where it's safe to do so, like a bicep curl or something like that, it's not a big deal. I wouldn't try and do cheat reps or forced reps with your big exercise. Like never try and cheat or force deadlifts or squats or even bench presses, because the bigger the exercise, the heavier the loads, the more risk of injury. Like if something goes wrong with the squat or a deadlift or a bench press, it could be a muscle tear, a joint popping injury, right? It could be a bad injury. With something small like side lateral raises or bicep curls, okay, if you use a little bit of body English for your curl, greater scheme of things, big deal. The risk of injury is very low. Same with the side lateral raise, the risk of injury is very low. So certain exercises like that, it may be okay, but the big compound moves, definitely not. Just keep the form controlled, lifting within your means, and then when you hit positive muscular failure, end the set. Right. Most of the time with like squats and deadlifts and shoulder presses and stuff like that, like I'm racking the weight by myself. I'm not lifting to the point where I need to have a spotter pull the barbell off me to rack the weight. Right. I'm usually racking the weight on my own, and doing so, staying injury free. Right. And then if I'm feeling good, then I'll increase the weight for the next workout. All right, what else we got there? Conscious Aether, I guess. It's said that abs are made in the kitchen. Eat well because you can't outtrain a bad diet. However, it's said to treat abs like any other muscle using hypertrophic exercises for growth. What are your thoughts? Both. I kind of mentioned this earlier. Someone was asking about, can they still build good abs with the acid reflux medication? But the same thing applies right here. You can have well-developed abs, absolutely, but if they're covered with a layer of body fat, you're never going to see them. Right now, does that mean that they're useless? No, I mean they're still strong from a strength and stabilization point of view, because the abs are basically stabilizer muscles for your core. Right, if you have strong abs, strong core, you're going to be more solid when you're just doing exercises and movements and just day-to-day stuff in general. You're going to be very well grounded and less likely to have a risk of injury. If you have weak abdominals, of course, that's going to be the weak link in the chain, right? But uh, if you want to have visible abdominals, that's a different thing. Visible abdominals come from diet, from cardio, from fat loss, from getting the skin very thin so that you can actually see the muscle definition and detail underneath. And I want to address this too, because a lot of people think that they're doing something wrong when they're following a fat loss program. Like, oh, I'm dieting, I'm losing weight, but I still can't see my abs. What's wrong? The fat around the midsection is very stubborn. It's like the last to go. Like you will get lean in your shoulders, your arms, your legs before you get lean in your abs. And it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It just means you need to keep dieting longer. You'll even get lean in your face. Like a lot of times people they'll have this sunken in face. They'll have definition and vascularity in their arms, no fat, very lean in the legs. And they're like, oh, I still got that pot belly. I still got the love handles and everything else. That's fine. That's normal, right? You just got to keep dieting, keep doing what you're doing, because once you lose the fat from the easy places, then the last to go is always the midsection. But if you keep staying in a fat loss phase, it will come off the midsection as well. But I noticed that from years of competing in bodybuilding, like I would get lean in the limbs, the extremities, a lot faster than I get lean in the midsection. But by the time I got the visible abdominal definition, then you're pretty much lean and ripped all over. But it's just a matter of dieting longer, not necessarily dieting harder. Right? Because some people think they need to go to some extreme measures. Like I need to go keto, I need to go carnivore, I need to eliminate my carbs, or I need to do multiple hours of cardio having this massive calorie deficit and intermittent fasting or whatever. Like, no, you just need a slight calorie deficit, but you need a slight calorie deficit longer in order to lose the body fat. Right? It's not dieting harder, it's dieting longer. That's the kicker. And to kind of put some real numbers, back when I would be competing in bodybuilding, whenever I'd get ready for a show to get contest shape, I would allow myself 6 months. And that's not starting from scratch. Like, that's still consistent with training, you know, no layoffs or nothing like that. But to go from off season to contest shredded, I would allow myself 6 months. So a slow, steady fat loss phase over the course of 6 months. And I know a lot of people, they're starting from scratch. Like, oh, I haven't worked out in 5 years. And then they start working out and I've been doing this for a month. I've been doing it for 6 weeks or 12 weeks. Oh, I'm not shredded yet. What's wrong? Like, dude, you just need to give yourself more time. Like, I would do that with a decade or more of training experience under my belt, and I'd still need 6 months of dieting, focused dieting effort to get contest shredded. Like, a lot of people don't realize how long it takes to lose fat and get lean. So dieting longer, not harder. So yeah, abs are certainly made in the kitchen from that point of view, but you want to build a muscle underneath so that when you do lean out, you can certainly see what's happening underneath. David is saying your video quality is breaking up at times. I mentioned that earlier. The Wi-Fi connection that I'm using here is slow. All right, so if it is chopping up, I do apologize. Hopefully the majority of this is coming through, but it's poor quality Wi-Fi where I'm at. It's not much I can do about it. I'm going to answer a few more and then we'll get ready to clue it up. Daniel saying, what are your thoughts on long walks for cardio? From a fat loss point of view, walking is probably the most underrated form of cardio. When I was getting ready for competitions, dieting for competition and dieting for fat loss, walking was my number one form of cardio. And the reason I like walking is because it's easy. It's something you can do consistently. It's something that you can do without beating yourself up, and it's not going to hinder your weight training workouts, and it's not going to have a massive impact on recovery or increasing your appetite or anything like that. You can basically add in walking without hindering the rest of your routine. Because the problem with doing higher intensity cardio, like let's say you're doing intervals or like what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, a big bike ride, 100-mile bike ride. The problem with that is it drives your appetite through the roof. And in order to do such an intense cardio session, you fuel and eat a lot. So I'm going to be eating a big in order to keep my energy levels topped up. So even though I'm going to be burning a massive amount of calories, I have to consume a massive amount of calories just to be able to do it. So it's not really ideal from a true fat burning point of view. I mean, I'm not doing it from a fat burning point of view. I'm doing it because I just love it. I enjoy it. I'm doing it from an endurance point of view. I mean, it's great for building up endurance, but if I was just doing cardio for fat loss alone, walking would probably be my primary form because it's low intensity and it's something that you can do without spiking your appetite or without hindering your recovery from your weight training workouts. So like when I was getting ready for bodybuilding shows, I'd usually walk for 60 minutes a day. That was kind of like my benchmark for cardio, and it worked really great from a fat loss point of view. All right, we're going to get ready to clue this up very shortly, but a couple more. Without a trainer, how do you know if your form is correct? That's tricky, but you can videotape yourself and you can learn a lot from watching yourself on video. So if you don't have a trainer or someone who's an experienced eye to watch your form, you can videotape yourself and you can learn a lot by watching yourself on video. And then you can actually compare your video to proper form videos that you see on YouTube, like watching other people. Like, hey, you can go watch my workout videos and say, okay, how does my form compare to Lee's form? And you might be able to critique yourself and see certain areas where you can improve. Like you can learn a lot just by watching yourself on video, right? You could get a trainer who can critique your form. I mean, you can do this virtually now. That's a cool thing. Like when I'm working with my coaching students, like a lot of them are remote. Like they don't, very few of them are in person in the gym. Like most of them are online. Yeah, they'll send me thing rowing, whatever. How's my form? And I'll do a video breakdown critiquing their form so that they can get an idea of what they need to focus on and improving. Right? I mean, uh, if you want to see an example of that, just go do a search for Lee Hayward deadlift critique or Lee Hayward squat critique. I've posted up YouTube videos of some of my coaching students that I've been working with in the past, where I've literally posted up their video, posted up my video, and then break it down and do like an analyst side by side an analysis of the form, saying, okay, this is where you need to focus on. This is, you need to improve your posture here. You need to slow down the cadence here, or, yada, 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 whatever, right? Breaking it down and giving them a very detailed, exercise form critique. And that's something I do with my coaching students on a regular basis. They'll send me video clips. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a little cell phone video clip, right? Send it over, and then I'll review it and then give them a feedback critique. Almost the same as if we were doing it in the gym, but it's just done virtually. But you can still learn so much through video, and that's the best thing that I would recommend. If you haven't videotaped yourself doing exercises, it's powerful. Like that's how I learned so much about my form just watching myself on video, and that's actually how I started making YouTube videos to begin with, because I was at the time I was getting ready to compete in powerlifting. This is like in the early 2000s, and even before YouTube was online. And I remember some of the other competitors were saying, videotape yourself doing your lifts, and then you can critique your form and see if it's going to pass in competition or not. So I bring my 8mm camcorder to the gym, set it up on a tripod, right? And I do my benches and squats and deadlifts, and then I got into video and other exercises as well. And just watching it, it's like, oh man, like what I see in the mirror versus what I see on videos, two totally different things. And then by taking different angles and stuff like that, like I could really get a that third person perspective and tighten up my form in all the weak areas, and it made a huge difference. So yeah, you can do a lot of self coaching through video, right? All right, well, I'm going to get ready and clue this up, guys. No, it's been a little over an hour, but I have to clue it up, and I'm going to post the replay of this will be posted up shortly after. Like as soon as I end this, it'll be posted up. So if you haven't already seen the intro of this, you can go back and check the replay afterwards. And I just want to let you know as well that the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast, we've been doing several episodes now. I think episode 14 is online now. So if you have not checked that out, you can certainly go back and do so and check some of the past episodes. But every Tuesday, we upload a brand new episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. And it's uploaded to YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and all the major podcast platforms. So if you want to check that out, by all means, go ahead and do so. And if you would like some help with your own training and nutrition program, feel free to reach out to me. I have my contact information down in the description below this video, and we can book in for a strategy session coaching call, and we can discuss your training goals, what it is that you're trying to achieve, your situation, and see if we can map out a realistic action plan that's right for you. And if you're a good fit, then I may invite you to come on board with our VIP coaching program and join our coaching community where we can really help take things to the next level. So have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Same time, same place. Take care. Over and out.